Okay, for day 2, we have a couple of things. We've got this little doily, or large doily, with snowflakes paper clipped onto the bag. And then, what's inside? Oh, it's taped closed. Let's see. Ooh, so we've got some puffy stars. Very nice. And a little tag. Oh, a couple little tags. So those will be fun to incorporate for day 2. Wait. Oh, something missing. My journaling prompt for day 2 is be on the search for unique ephemera. You can include tickets, wrappers, Starbucks, cups, etc. Make the perfect additions to holiday memories. So that's day 2. For day 2, I have a lot of photos, which kind of goes against my plan for this album. But to be fair, I hadn't really challenged myself to the less photos plan until after this day. So it doesn't count. These are photos from a parade at one of the local cities, and my son Joseph and my husband were both in the parade representing the Cub Scout troop that they're in. And I thought it would be fun to do a really cool little flip-flap in the center of a 2-page spread. Now, I don't think I did too bad here. I mean, parades are massive and you could take hundreds of pictures, and I have 5. So I think that's pretty good for me to have narrowed it down to 5. On the right side of this spread, we've got a picture of my daughter Chloe petting a horse. We have the Paw Patrol characters, which my twins would be very excited about, so I had to take a picture of that to show them. And of course we have Santa Claus float, because you can't not take a picture of the Santa float. Okay, that didn't make any sense. You can't avoid taking a picture of the Santa Claus float. It is the highlight of the entire parade. So had to include that one as well, especially because it's a little bit different this year than it was last year. So I'm cutting down some papers, using some pocket cards to border these photos. They were printed on my Canon Selphy, which does not print true to size, which is fine for this project because I don't mind adding in those extra little cards and papers to give a little more festivity to the page. So that's fine for this project, but for project life, it's irritating. But I'm going to make it work. I've also cut out a piece of thick cardstock. This is 100-pound weight cardstock, and I've cut it down to 4.75 by 8 inches, and that allows me 3/4 of an inch for my holes, and I need that extra space just to be on the safe side. I grabbed that Freckle Fawn washi, that nice thick washi again, but recognized that I really wanted to cover that entire 0.75 or 3/4 of an inch area with the washi on both sides, and I wasn't getting there. So I went ahead and pulled it back up, and we'll readjust it and add more washi to the back so that both sides will have full coverage. The reason I'm doing that is A, to reinforce the holes, because when you're punching those into cardstock and those pages get turned and they get turned and they get turned, they do get worn down over time, and the washi does reinforce those holes just a little bit so that they are a little bit more stable. It also adds a very nice floral detailing to the side of this page, which I love. I'm really, really happy with this floral washi. It makes me very, very happy to include it because it matches the outside of my album, as you see there. So I'm pulling out this acetate page, which actually was from Ali Edwards and was included in my Secret Not Secret kit that I'm using for December as well, and I'm using that as a guide, and I was just checking to see if it fit perfectly into the rings of my album from Felicity Jane before I used it as a template to punch out my cardstock, because that would be a mess. Go and punch out all of the little holes and then find out they're not aligned properly. Fun times. So avoided that. Now here is where I was having some issues with my Crop-A-Dile. I Don't know why, but the washi and cardstock combo was getting stuck inside of the Crop-A-Dile. So after each punch, I was having to use my little tiny scissors to pop out those little pieces. And yeah, it didn't take but a minute, but it was super irritating in the process. So I have this really nice vertical 4x6 photo of my son Alex, my Uncle Larry, his lovely girlfriend Renee, and Chloe, all set up on the sidewalk. I, of course, could not get myself into this picture because I was the one taking it, but that's okay. I am going to be in some of the photos in this December daily, so I don't worry about it too much. As long as I appear in the album a time or two, then I'm totally fine with not being in every photo. And I have a lot of kids. I mean, I'm not going to be in every photo. So I'm going to grab these 2 tags that were left over from day 1, and I'm going to use both of them on this little insert. Here is my journaling, and it says "in the moment," and it has a long and rambly story about us enjoying the parade and how I have loved the parade for years, but we can't always go. Couple of reasons why is I have twins who are autistic and have a really hard time with big crowds and also sitting still. And at the parade, you kind of have to sit still and endure a big crowd. And those are not conducive to their comfort. So instead of dragging them along, some years we go and some years I stay at home with the girls. This year, my wonderful mother-in-law agreed to come over and just hang out with them at the house. And, it made for a much more pleasant experience at the parade, and they were not uncomfortable in that environment. So I've added both of those tags on behind this one photo. I just like that layered look. I think it looks really cool, but it doesn't add too much bulk because it is just tags. They're not super thick. And I'm playing around with the ephemera and the chipboard that I have just dumped into this little container and just trying to get a feel for what I wanted. I ended up going for this present, and I'm not exactly sure why, other than I wanted to bring in a little bit of that blue. I am mixing 2 very different collections here. I have the Felicity Jane kit that is very much red, a little bit of pink, a little bit of gray, and black. So very, very limited color scheme. And then I have the Pink Fresh Studio, which is pink and bright red, a little bit of teal, blue, and green, and a touch of gray, no black. And there is some navy in there as well. So a much more varied color scheme. And so I'm trying to blend those 2 together, and one of the ways that I'm doing that is by incorporating pieces from both collections throughout the album so that I don't have, okay, this spread was Felicity Jane exclusively. Okay, this spread was Pink Fresh Studio exclusively. No, I'm trying to blend them together as much as possible. I am using these lovely tiny words. I love these green words from Ali Edwards, which is funny because when I opened them, I was like, ooh, that's quite green. I'm not sure about that. But they actually work really well at blending the 2 collections together because there's no green in Felicity Jane, but this color of green works beautifully with the shade of red in the Felicity Jane kit. So they seem to work together. They work together really well. I did decide to go ahead and add some of these puffy hearts. Why? Because I completely forgot that I had just opened up a whole pack of puffy stars. So you will see the stars come back at the end when I realize that I've completely forgotten to incorporate my Advent gift. So those will come back at the end, but on this side we're just going to use some puffy hearts, and I varied up the colors so that I had 1 of each color, and they're in 3 spots on that side of the card. And with my journaling, I didn't love all of the white space in the background because the card itself is very white. So I reached into the stamp set for Felicity Jane and pulled out this little snow cluster stamp, and I decided I'm going to create a stamped background on the top and the bottom, just the edges there that are showing, and with this cluster stamp. And it came out really cute! I wasn't sure because it was going to have to be really random because I don't plan things, let's be real. And so I'm like, this is going to be super random, so hopefully it looks okay. And in typical Laura fashion, I just go for it. And if it didn't work out, oh well, I guess I'm remaking this whole card all over again. Or I could have just covered it up with a piece of pattern paper and that would have worked too. So it's okay to experiment, guys. Do not be afraid to experiment. If you screw it up, you can always cover it up with pattern paper and the mistake is gone. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp all over this background, just at the top and bottom, what I know is going to show. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my journaling on top. And I really love how that looks. It's just that stamping background just gave it the pattern it really needed. And then I'm going to add in this beautiful wood grain, which I guarantee there will be none of these papers, I have 2 of them, left over at the end of this album because it is gorgeous. And I love it. It's just so beautiful. And I thought that little bit of gray kind of toned it down some because there's a lot of black on this page now. And I thought that toned it down just a little bit. And so now I've got my insert pretty much done. I'm going to start working on my pocket pages as well. Now I thought about adding that little holly girl, but she kind of overlapped my journaling a bit and the holes on the page. So nah, that wasn't going to work. Went ahead and added this little pine cone cluster onto the bottom right just to give it a touch of interest and a little bit more color because it's very black and white. And I'm like, oh, this needs a little bit of color because that next page is very colorful. And again, we're tying in the 2 collections that way. So I've grabbed out the gold foil number from the Felicity Jane kit, and this is day 2. And on day 1, I used this gold foil number. And at this point, I was thinking, oh, well, I'm just going to keep it the same. They're all going to be the gold foil. And then I went, no, I don't really like this. I kind of want to use the wood one from the last year's kit. And so I put that aside while I think about, am I really going to take on a varied number system in this album? Because I didn't do that last year, and so that's a new concept and something I'm considering. Meanwhile, I've pulled out this really cute little Project Life card from the Felicity Jane kit that has these scalloped pink edges, and I think that's a nice way to, again, tie the 2 kits together because pink is one of the elements that is the same between them. So pink is going to be my unifying color to help me combine these 2 kits. And I'm matting it onto a very, very lovely black and white check, and I think that really speaks to the black on the opposite page because the bottom photo on the left side has navy, and here the right side, the first part of the insert, has black. And so I'm trying again to unify those 2 by using both colors. Yes, this is a very bright and colorful album. That's okay. I'm totally fine with that. My photos are bright and colorful too. There will be photos that have black and navy in them, so I'm okay with it. I used one of the Felicity Jane tags as a template to cut out a tag from this beautiful candy cane stripe red, and I thought that was a nice way to tie in that bright red tag on the opposite side as well, and so my wood number is going to sit on that tag. But first I wanted to add in a little title to this page, and I started to just use these little thickers and spell out the entire thing. Olive Branch Christmas Parade. Well, I quickly realized that that probably was not going to fit on this little 3x4 card, and so then I decided, let's just spell out Christmas Parade in the big letters, and I'll put Olive Branch in some scripty writing at the top. Is my scripty writing beautiful and perfect? No, but that's okay. It's just for fun. And this is just for me. This is not for a design team. This is not for anyone else. It's not a gift. So it can just be what I want it to be. And because all of my journaling is typed this year, I feel like I can do a little bit of scripty titling and it looks just fine. So adding that in the best I can. It's not terrible, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's terrible, but it's something that I am working on, and I don't think I've quite reached the point where I love it yet. But practice makes better, right? So that pretty scripting is up there, and I really like that juxtaposition of the script and the very blocky letters. And then I put this 2 on an angle here to follow the tag. And after I did that, it occurred to me that it was kind of awkward to have the 2 on a slant when the title is not. So I do end up at the very end, and you'll see it in the still photos at the end, I added one of those tiny little tags from the advent calendar on a slant with the larger tag so that we had 3 items on the slant and then the title, and it just seems to work a little bit better. So now that I have that done, I'm going to add a little banner piece to this photo here at the bottom. It's a big group photo of my son's Cub Scout pack and the little float that they made. So I don't want to add a ton to this picture because there's a lot of people in it. There's a lot going on. And so I didn't want to add a ton of embellishment onto a very busy photo. I am going to add a word phrase sticker, but because the green is on the insert there, I didn't want to go green to green. And so instead I reached for the black Felicity Jane ones, instead again tying in the black and navy across the pages. I just find that that makes it more cohesive and it works better for me. So I'm adding black onto this card here. Now I did end up putting 2 phrase stickers on there together. I do find the Felicity Jane ones a little harder to use because they're very blunt. I mean, they're just like gingerbread and snow. And while these are winter/Christmas phrases, they don't really say anything. I mean, the photo says more than the phrase sticker, which seems odd to me, but it's all right. Bringing in these green ones again to add a couple bits and pieces to this side, because on this side of the insert, there is no green currently. And so I thought, okay, let's bring in just a little bit of green and with one of the phrase stickers, and I end up pulling up the second one and going for this little die cut that says joy in gold foil instead, and really like that little pop of gold on there. I think it adds just a little extra something onto the page. And one of the things I want to mention here is you will notice that I'm taking a more leisurely route to my December daily this year. It is the 6th, and I'm just now recording voiceover for day 2 and 3. So the reason for that is because last year I got a little stressed with this project. It was the first year I'd ever done it, and I was really trying to compete with some of the really incredible YouTubers who keep up with it on a daily basis. And I didn't enjoy the process quite as much as I wanted to, and there were some pages that ended up super simple because I was just in a hurry, and I didn't love it. Was not happy with that at all. So this year I have decided to take my time to really make my album my own, to make it exactly what I want it to be. And if that means that I sit down and do 3 days on one day, that's fine. And if that means that I don't work on it for a week, that's fine too. I also want to encourage you to make this project your own. Make it fit your schedule. It does not have to be finished in December. Mine probably won't be. It'll probably be finished in January, and that's completely fine. So don't stress about this project. Make it what you want it to be. If you want it to be super simple, then go super simple. But I really don't like that style. I'm not a minimalist in any way, shape, or form. And it would not make me happy to look through a minimalist album. So now is when I realized, oh wait, I was supposed to use something out of this little advent present. Oops. So I went ahead and grabbed the little puffy stickers and added a few of those stars around the page, which luckily on this right side of the layout, I had not done those tiny details yet. And I do end up tucking in this little tag next to the number 2, just below the number 2, and you'll see that in the still photos at the very end. But before we get to the end, guess what? This is a 2-day video, so you get to see me open up day 3's little advent gift and do the process video for that page as well. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this slightly longer video. Okay, for day 3, we got a little envelope here. Let's open it up and see what's inside. Maybe it's stapled. It's harder to open than the taped ones. So for day 3, we have, of course, our prompt and some more trim. We've got some gold and silver star trim and some really cute little bells. So I will try to incorporate either these or some of the things from day 1 and 2 into this layout as well. Okay, for day 2, I just have 2 photos and this journaling card, which I have printed in the Project Life app, and I will have a video up for you guys to show you how to use that for your journaling. It's really, really easy. It's a lot of fun, and I think it's allowing me to add more of my story to this project, which I'm really excited about. So I did bring in some of that trim. See, I remembered to use it this time. Added a little bit of this trim, and I started with the gold in between the pieces. It's going to be attached to the outside of the page protector right there between the top and bottom. But I do end up switching that out for the silver later, just because I started adding some silver elements, and I'm like, oh, we're going to go with silver on this. And then I started adding some gold elements, and I went, oh, I guess we're doing both. So I do end up switching out for silver, but I tied them both in fairly well, I think. And so here's that silver piece here. So these photos are from my twins' scout night. They had a little Christmas party, and they had this super cute little project that I have never seen before. And essentially they were creating Christmas trees out of a ice cream cone, one of those ice cream cones that's actually shaped like a cone, and some frosting and some candy. And they came out so super cute, and I was really, really excited that the den leader got these really cute pictures of my girls creating. I was not at this event. We actually had to split up for this night because my daughter Chloe had an event as well, and I'm going to be using that event for day 4. So I'm excited to do that. Like I said, I'm not necessarily concerned about this happened on day 2. It has to be documented for day 2 because for me this is not so much a December daily as it is a documenting the stories and just kind of numbering the stories. I have 24 stories or 25 stories that I want to share for this month, and those stories may not happen on those days. I may have days that have 4 stories and I have days that have none. And so I think it evens out when I do it this way, and it just makes much less stress for me because I do at some point kind of get ahead by a day or so, and I know what the story is going to be for today, even though we didn't necessarily do anything today because it's a leftover story from yesterday. And I think that works just as well. It takes a lot of the stress off of you of trying to come up with a story because you don't have to. You have extra stories that can be sprinkled about throughout the album. Okay, way off topic. Sorry, y'all. And so playing around with bits and pieces, I wanted to cover up this corner of the photo because there is someone else being helped by a parent in the background there. And it's a weird... You got an adult hand and a kid. It just looks kind of strange. So I just went ahead and added this really pretty little navy ornament, and it just covers up that weird little background something or other that's happening. I'm also bringing in some of these little wood veneer, just the one little wood veneer tree. And it's really, really cute. I love these tiny wood veneer. They're not super thick, and popping them into a pocket page, they're just the perfect size for that. And also adding in a green sticker because of course we've got lots of green with that Project Life card on the right side there. And bringing in these lovely stars from day 2 because I do want to use these up. I don't just want to use them on day 2. It's going to be added to my kit and be encouraging myself to use them throughout the album as well. So I decided for day 3, let's go all out. Let's just grab a completely different number size from the Felicity Jane alphabet, and we went with silver. And so I have a silver glittery number on my journaling spot because I didn't have a lot of room left. I hadn't left a lot of room for a large number, especially the number 3. I tried the other ones and they just took up too much space. So this little 3 was the one I chose, and then I used some glossy accents to try to get this trim on the outside of the page protector. I will tell you, this was not a terribly effective way to add this trim on, and I do end up taking my tiny attacher to the 2 end stars just to make sure that this stays in place. And then I got another little idea. what if we put a couple of bells in the center of this pocket page? So I pulled out some of this twine and went ahead and looped it through tiny, tiny little bows, which as you can see was quite the task. Looped it through the bows, tied them into knots, and then I'll add some glossy accents on top of those knots, which will help to reinforce them, so hopefully they won't come open. And then I'm going to tie the string into a bow and glue it down onto the outside of the page protector in the dead center. And that just uses those cute little bells, and they're just a nice little accent because there isn't a lot happening on this page. This is a fairly simple page, which is fine. And I think it just dresses it up just a little bit as a little extra something. I love textural elements in my mini albums. I really wish that I could figure out a way to do this in my larger albums. But in the larger format, I find it much more difficult to do that. I'm too afraid that there are so many pieces on my layouts in the 12 by 12 format that I'm concerned they would fall off. And so what I just stick to these mini albums is where I put my textural elements, where I add in these little extra pieces on top of page protectors, adding in inserts that aren't in page protectors, and I really like them. I love these albums. These are my favorite albums to flip through because you can touch the little bits and pieces, all of the the bells, and you can, the wood veneer and the puffy stickers are, a lot of them are on the outside of the page protector, and I really love the way that looks and the way it feels when you're looking through it. So here's that little bow all tied up so beautifully, if I do say so myself. And again, going to the glossy accents in my broken bottle to glue that down. And I do end up coming back and adding some glossy accents on top of the bow in hopes that that will cement it to the pocket page, because the pocket page is a glossy surface and does not like to accept glue very easily. And so this pocket page is pretty much done. This was a super simple one. Really quick and easy, so I didn't want to make it its own separate video. So just added it on to day 2, and here it is, all completed. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys. I really appreciate all your comments, all your thumbs up, and until next time, bye!